are often shown as strong men who are able to push through whatever circumstances they face without blinking an eye. On the surface, this can seem like great characteristics to have. We want our boys to grow into strong men who are reliable, consistent, and can face anything no matter what's going on. And so we raise them up from young ages knowing that one day they will grow up to be strong men. As they're growing up, we tell them things like, you can't cry, you're a man, you gotta be a big boy, you're gonna be a strong man one day, no crying. Or we call them girly when they express their emotions. Unfortunately, we may also be teaching them to ignore their very real mental health struggles and that whenever they're suffering, they need to keep it to themselves. Guys, welcome to Blooming with BC. I'm BC, a mental health counselor in the state of Florida, and today we will be talking about some mental health statistics in Black men. This topic is very close to my heart for a variety of reasons. My husband's Black, my daddy's Black, my brothers are Black, but also as a therapist, some of my specialties include people of color, racial trauma, generational trauma. Because of that, I do look into Black men's mental health a lot. I try to keep up with what research is showing clinically and from the experience of people I interact with in my day-to-day life. Unsurprisingly, finding this research was not easy. I had to do a lot of digging. A lot of the research grouped Black men in together with other men, or there wasn't a lot of volunteers for the research studies. And although that's still really important research to be doing, as you may know, the experience of a Black man can be pretty unique and nuanced. And if you agree with that, leave an emoji in the comments to let me know I'm not alone in seeing that. Despite the lack of ample research, or should I say because there is a lack of research, I felt it was really important to help keep the conversation going and highlight what is already out there so that it can be more accessible for everyone. So without further ado, here are some stats about Black men's mental health. 1. Did you know that only 26.4% of Black men ages 18 to 44 who experience daily feelings of anxiety or depression were likely to have used mental health services, compared with 45.4% of non-Hispanic white men with the same feelings? That stat tells me that it's not that Black men aren't feeling anxiety and depression, because they are, but they're not taking that next step of getting help. Maybe it's because there's still a stigma of mental health in the Black community. Maybe they don't have examples of other men in their life who are having the conversation. Regardless of their reasoning, it does not mean they're not experiencing the feelings. Number 2, did you know that as racial protests began heating up in the 1960s, diagnoses of schizophrenia among Black men became a far more common phenomenon? So, what does that tell you? Me, it unfortunately tells me that in the 60s, mental health diagnoses were being used as a weapon to limit the amount of men who were protesting their racial justice rights. So kind of going back to that last stat I just mentioned, it makes sense that there's a stigma around mental health. Fortunately, we're working towards erasing some of that stigma and having mental health resources that are geared towards the benefit of Black people in mind, but it does shed some light for some of the reasoning. I would love to say that this diagnosis of schizophrenia is not seen as commonly in Black men today. Unfortunately, the next statement I want to share with you is showing that that's not the case. Number 3. Today's providers disproportionately diagnose African American men with schizophrenia and other psychotic disorders compared with white men, who are more likely diagnosed with mood disorders. It's important because it shows that a Black man and a white man could be showing up with the same symptoms, but different assumptions could unfortunately be made due to the clinician's unconscious biases. Part of this could be because we don't have a frame of reference good enough to be able to factor in some of the cultural nuances when we are doing diagnosing. Another big part of it is how linked it is to what was going on in the 60s. Number 4, did you know that African American men are more likely to die by suicide than African American women? In general, men of any race or ethnicity are more likely to die by suicide than women. This is usually because the methods that men tend to use when they are attempting to die by suicide tend to be more direct and fast acting than the methods that women use. But a lot of people tend to say that dying by suicide is something that white people experience, or it doesn't happen in their Black community because it's against their religion or it's against their beliefs. Unfortunately, that doesn't mean what's going on isn't happening. There are still Black men who are dying by suicide at rates higher than women. Number 5, did you know Black men are more likely to display physical symptoms of a mental health disorder than mental or emotional ones? Some physical symptoms of a mental illness include being excessively tired, moving more slowly, having trouble concentrating, headaches, migraines, muscle tension. Those are all symptoms of mental health issues like depression, anxiety, trauma, and PTSD. Number 6, did you know that African American men are also more likely to be committed involuntarily for inpatient mental health treatment? Again, this goes back to not being enough research, not being enough techniques for how to help Black men. Unfortunately, a lot of people do jump to automatically, involuntarily committing someone instead of presenting them resources for how they can get help on their own. Again, not because Black men are not experiencing mental health issues, but because not enough people are trained in how to notice the signs ahead of time to support the men who are struggling. I don't know about you, but I want this to change. I want all of what I said to change. I want our Black men to feel comfortable getting help, and I want for them to be able to find resources that are actually going to help them when they do take some time to reach out. So I'm doing my part on my end, but here are some things that you can do too to help the men in your life. Number 1, check in on them. This may take some time. Men may not be comfortable opening up. It's honestly ingrained in them generationally. I get it, I do. But you being consistent, you being there for them in ways that they are able to recognize is from love and not from you trying to talk down on who they are and what they're experiencing. Number 2, and this is a big one, share some of your own struggles. There is not a person on this green earth who has not struggled with some type of mental health issue. Maybe it's low self-esteem, maybe it's anxiety, maybe it's depression, maybe you have something more serious going on. I guarantee you are not alone in what you're experiencing. And if you're in a place where you feel like you can safely share what's going on, share that with other men in your community who may be struggling with something similar. You could be the first one to start a conversation that's been needing to happen for generations. Number 3, engage with Black clinicians' content. I have content on not only here on YouTube, but on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok for you to look at. Another great resource is my colleague James Harris. He's got a great organization that is focusing on helping men heal what's going on inside of them. James is not only a counselor, but he's a public speaker. He's got so many resources, and his organization, Men to Heal, is doing great work for the lives of men, especially Black men, when it comes to their mental health. The 4th way to support the Black men in your life is to work on your own mental health. If you're being triggered by a lot of the same things they are, you can't be as much help as you could be if you're taking the time to work on yourself. Able to do individual counseling, that's great. If not, for some resources that have been created by clinicians, I personally have worksheets in my Etsy store that could be used for wherever you are in your mental health journey. Join Facebook groups with people who are working on their own mental health as well. Wherever you start, no matter how small, take that next step. As I mentioned at the start of this video, I had a hard time finding some of this information. And even some of the research authors admitted that they themselves had a hard time finding this information. But from what I could find, I felt it was really important to share. Hopefully you learned something new. Maybe you realized you're not weak for what you're experiencing. Or maybe this video has led you to think about things that you never set aside this time to think about. Whatever your takeaway is, I'd love to hear it in the comments below. If you're interested in more information about Black mental health, you can watch this video about Black mental health in teenagers, or you can subscribe to my channel to be notified about my next video, which will be about mental health stats in Black women. Wherever you are in your mental health journey, I'm grateful to have been a part of it. I'll see you soon.